Right. There we go. Should we jump into the questions?
Sure. I'll read them. I am the addict in recovery since discovery the beginning of this year. I personally have a full recovery while my partner has sporadic schedule. We recently started a couples podcast series and they mentioned both betrayal trauma and relational trauma. Can you please explain relational trauma and the possible relationships between the two? I don't fully grasp it in the podcast that we listened to.
Interesting question. I feel like half my head is missing in this with the background. Relational trauma and betrayal trauma. Betrayal trauma is very specific to an intimate betrayal. I promise I won't cheat on you, I cheat. That is a betrayal trauma. Relational trauma can be a much bigger thing. We can't agree on what we want to have for dinner and we have a big fight and it's traumatic. That can be relational trauma. There's no betrayal there, but it can be very traumatic. My parents, my father died a few months ago. I was just with my mother last week. They fought for 59 years about how to cook red meat. And horrible, nasty fights about, he liked it rare and she liked it shoe leather. And there was no, he could never do it right for her. She could never do it right for him. It was a trauma in their relationship, but it had nothing to do with betrayal. Betrayal is betrayal. I promise you one thing, I do something else. I betray your trust in me. There's no trust lost on the red meat. It's just we're fighting about red meat. But betrayal trauma is really a loss of trust. Anyway, that's how I read that one. Tammy, you may have some other thoughts.
Well, I'm thinking of using the example of the meat. It's like, and neither of them are willing to budge or to find a path to move forward. I'd be, like I could go, I'm going to cook my own meat. You're going to cook your own meat and we're going to enjoy our dinner together. We're going to time it so that we can enjoy, and we're not going to fight about the way it's cooked. We're both going to have it the way we like it, So it's one of those, there were ways to do it differently. They chose not to. So, but, then you keep going into the spinning on that. So, I often quote the, or glean from the podcast that Dr. Rob did with Dr. Stan Tatkin, that was, we do what's good for the relationship is good for me individually too. Because if the two of us are moving forward, if we're both working together, that's good for our relationship and we're healthier. Like individually, I'm healthier. If it's about me, and and going back to the meat thing, it's like I like my meat rare. I want it, I would be going like, well, that person doesn't even care about me. And that, like they don't care about my needs. Then it's still all about me. And it isn't like, what's going to be good for this relationship? How can we navigate this differently? Betrayal trauma is very specific. We talk often about that. In fact, Troy Love does great work on betrayal wounds. He has a betrayed partner group, alternating Thursdays. He works with the male addicts on Friday mornings. He has the drop-in group on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. But I was also curious. I personally have a full recovery.
Full recovery schedule.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
That's how I read that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. That makes more sense because I was just like, wow, you're amazing. And, in a year, you've got the whole thing. So thank you for clarifying that because I got a little stuck on that. So I gotcha. Okay. So a sporadic schedule. So
I like that you're doing things together, like podcasts and things. That's a huge sort of healing. You have to heal individually, but when you can also, when you're ready to work on healing together, it can be a really powerful thing. So I love that you're listening to podcasts and then you're coming here and asking questions about what you don't understand.
And also, like, I think it's interesting because like even reading questions, I pick up on different things, as well. So like, it would be fascinating for the two of you. Like, are you talking about, we neither one, quite understand that. Let's go get some more information. Or what did that, what resonated with you? What did you hear and pick up? I think that those can be kind of a safe place to start a dialogue on, on certain topics. It's also like, it's great stuff to take to, if you're working with a couples qualified professional, the things that get to be the, relational trauma, or the little, bits that kind of trip everybody up. Take it to your qualified therapist to help you to work through that. So, but great job, and great job on 2021 being recovery, beginning of the journey for you. That's fantastic. So, and I love that your partner's hanging in there with you too, because I mean, that's meaningful. So, okay, next question. I had someone say my spouse was not free from the energy of his addiction. What does that mean? Your opinions?
I love this question. In AA, there's a term we call it dry drunk. And what it means is I'm sober, but I'm still an asshole because I haven't changed my thinking. And so a lot of my behaviors are the same, even if I'm not acting out. So to me, that's the addiction energy is still there. I can be sober, but not be sober. Sober is, in recovery, I'm working on myself. I'm changing my thinking. I'm changing my, and my behavior follows my thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, I lean the same way as Scott, and I use like abstinences. I'm not drinking. I'm not doing the behaviors. I'm whatever. So, and it may be, nails clawing into the, I'm hanging in there. But yeah, the sobriety is like, I'm starting to pull things together. I'm starting to, I'm starting to change. People are starting to see, that I'm different. And then recovery is, like it's obvious. And, like Scott and I work hard at living in recovery in all areas of our life. It isn't like, okay, we're just not doing, the behaviors. It has to be, across all things. That's how I have serenity. That's, how I can be happy, joyous, and free, and not just switch to, eating the chocolate cake or gaming all night or whatever it is that, would take me offline and keep me away from, from people that I love. So yeah, to me, if there's still energy in it, in not recovery, in other things that I'm sure you sense it as a partner. I'm sure you are sensing, that, this person is not, committed, to doing what they need to do on a daily basis. So
yeah, and another thing this could mean is, he's not officially, I'm going to say he, am being sexist as usual. He's not acting out, but he's still fantasizing. He's still living in
true.
escapism of the sex addiction, and that is one of the ways that the energy of the addiction can still be there, particularly with sex and porn addicts.
Yeah.
So that may be some of it. Yeah, I'm not looking at porn, but I'm looking at not porn. And using it like it's porn.
Yeah.
Like
and still lying to you, gaslighting you.
I'm not doing the deeper work of recovery. I'm still keeping secrets. I'm still being a jerk, things like that.
Well, and I shared with, in the webinar earlier today, I think too, but like that's the worst spot, is to not be doing the stuff that, is the escape, but also not be living in recovery, because then you're in that awful place and you're awful to other people, and you don't have the freedom that recovery and doing the work really brings, the joy that it brings. So okay, next question. Now that my husband, SA, is in recovery, he is very obsessed with me, wife, and he says he is so in love with me and can't stop thinking about me. And sorry. And he thinks about me in certain clothes, outfits, wanting to do different sexual acts with me. But he also says it's not just about sex. He wants to be under me and around me. And I hear a lot about sex addicts having a hard time being close and intimate with their partners. But my husband is not like this. Is this normal, or is this addiction?
You want to go first?
Well, on this one, I'm like,
you're having feelings. Go ahead.
I am having feelings. Like, I don't hide things well with that. Anyway, so I'm having feelings because I was like, oh, he switched to you, So rather than doing the work on himself and looking at this, when I hear obsessed with me, and I mean, like, it's still external focus. He is not focused on, what's going on with me. He's, in my opinion, and we are just in recovery. So take what you need and leave the rest. But to me, this would be like, okay, you were doing this, and now you've made me the object of your attention, not necessarily affection. He's obsessing about what you look like in sex and all of these things. Is he obsessing about how you're feeling, how the betrayal affected you, what he needs to do his recovery work, so that he can show up in a real and meaningful way, that he can tolerate your unhappiness. I mean, this would bother me. I would, I think I would be wanting to push away. But that's me. So what are your thoughts, Scott?
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the most telling things I ever heard was in the sex addiction work group. One of the guys said it to me, and we were kind of talking about this. And I asked him to think back to his addiction and, what was his sex life like with his wife? And he said, well, we had sex a lot. I'm like, that's not what I asked. And he said, well, and he really thought about it. And he said, I think sometimes I was cheating on my wife with my wife.
Oh, wow.
In other words, he was using his wife as a sexual object. And I mean, being attracted to your partner, your wife, your husband, is one thing. Using them as an object is quite another. And as sex addicts, as Dr. Rob has said, he could be fantasizing using his wife as a vessel. Yes, that's, and it does happen. It's kind of switching from, cake to ice cream. I can't have cake anymore, but you're ice cream and I like ice cream too. As a matter of fact, I love ice cream. Now, this is also a good sign. Your husband does find you attractive. He does want to be with you. But there's more to it than that. I just turned away and I was digging in my notes. This is from the level 3 course in the sex addiction work group. We also cover it in the porn addiction work group in the upper level. We talk about what we call healthy sexuality, and there are 7 dimensions to healthy sexuality. And right now you're getting 1. And, the 7 dimensions, I dug this out because I actually wanted to go through them.
Please. Yeah, no, please.
It's important. And I usually teach this to addicts, but I think it's equally applicable to betrayed partners. We start with self-nurture. Now, what does this have to do with sex? Just bear with me. Self-nurture is taking care of ourselves, feeling better about ourselves. So, we have to ask what activities, what environments, what experiences enhance me and nurture me and just make my life better. That's how we start with good sex. That's element number 1 of good sex. It has nothing to do with sex. We're not going to get near sex for like 5 more elements, okay? Number 2 is sensuousness. There's a great scene in Animal House about sensual versus sensuous. I highly recommend it. I'm not going to repeat it here. But this is body awareness, learning to stimulate all of our senses. So we ask what activities, what behaviors, what environments add to my bodily awareness and stimulate my senses. So things like fresh cut flowers, because they smell nice and they look pretty. If he's bringing you fresh cut flowers and saying, I bought these for you, I just wanted to brighten up our house, if he uses the word our instead of my, pay attention to that, people. Particularly men, talk as we and our instead of I and my. Your spouse will appreciate that. So sensuousness is the second element. Then we work on relationship intimacy, which is like, and I'm not talking about relationship intimacy with my romantic partner. I'm talking about having friends and people who actually know what's going on in my life. Recovering addicts, pay attention to this one. This is your support network. We need to tell them the truth. We need to, accept their feedback. We need to be able to hear their truth. Again, we're nowhere near sex at this point. We're not even talking to our sexual partner at this point. But these are things we need to do to build up. Then we get partner intimacy, which is the same kind of non-sexual intimacy, but with our partner where I'm sharing with you, you're sharing with me, we're being honest. we're being vulnerable, we're accepting each other, warts and all, because we all have some warts in there somewhere. Then we go to non-genital physical touch, holding hands, cuddling, just sitting next to each other with physical contact while we watch TV, things like this. I mean, this is not foreplay. This is, then we move into actual physical sexuality, which involves, touching of parts and foreplay and actual sex. That's element number 6. So out of the 7 dimensions of healthy sexuality, we get all the way to number 6 before we're actually doing anything sexual. And then the 7th one, and I love this one because it freaks me out a little bit, is spiritual intimacy. And this is where we add meaning to the sex, where sex becomes an expression of our feelings, of our values, and of our connection. And ultimately, whether you spiritual, I don't mean like religious, but are we connected spiritually? And this is, if sex is not leading us to this spiritual, intimate connection, then it's just sex. Yeah, nothing wrong with just sex. Particularly if you're in a relationship, sometimes just sex can be super hot and super fun and can actually bring you closer without even trying. But when you're recovering from a betrayal, take it slow, and start with self-nurture and work your way through the steps: sensuousness, just general intimacy with people, and then partner intimacy, and then non-genital touch, and then genital sexuality, and then let's attach some meaning to this. So that was kind of a rant, but I think it's important stuff.
Really good information, and I like that you broke it down. I also think, because I hear a lot about sex addicts having a hard time being close and intimate, and just remember, intimacy isn't sex. Sex addicts have a whole lot of sex that isn't intimate. So people often do that. Close, at the end of the day, you're writing here. So like, I kind of wonder, if you're going like, I'm not sure about this, but I trust your gut. If it's working for you and you're feeling great and you feel like he's really connecting, like in a meaningful way and not just shifted so that you're a vessel, great. Whatever's nurturing for your relationship, what's building closeness and vulnerability, not just, I said this on, webinar not too long on. It isn't like the point of sex should not just be orgasm. It shouldn't be, penetration, orgasm. Okay, done. It's like we're connecting in a meaningful way, and sure, it can be fun and hot and all that. But particularly for sex addicts, learning to be vulnerable and be in that that closeness, can be uncomfortable. But there are plenty of sex addicts that that do switch. So. Hopefully
sure.
That's
see somebody with the hand raised, the electronic hand raise. This is a webinar, so we don't do that. But if you have a question, just type it into the Q&A.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. In my recovery, 9 months post D-Day with 9 months of sobriety, I have been experiencing a lot of what I call addict dreams, several each night usually. They are basically equivalent to fantasizing thoughts, and I'm working to minimize while awake, but I'm sleeping and subject to content. It makes me feel, and my partner, very uncomfortable, but I don't have a lot of luck stopping them. Is this common? Do you have recommendations?
Yes, it is very common. It doesn't matter what addiction you are recovering from, you will have using dreams, acting out dreams, addict dreams, whatever you want to call them. It's the addiction fighting back. It's a sign of sobriety. Alcoholics in particular have them. They have drinking dreams, and they'll come into a meeting, for the first year of their sobriety. Oh my God, I woke up and I was convinced I'd lost my sobriety, and I was going to have to call my sponsor and tell my wife, and go to my therapist and restart my sobriety. They're very, very real.
Very vivid. Yes.
We have no control over them. My take on it is you'll know you're really making progress in recovery when you start to have one of these acting out dreams, is what I call them for sex addicts. But you get right up to the point where you have to make the decision to act out or not, and you don't. you're really making progress in recovery when you get right up to that moment of decision and make the right decision. They're still very disturbing. And yeah, waking up from them and thinking, oh my God, I did it again. You know, my wife is going to leave me and my kids are never going to talk to me. You know, they're that real. And you cannot stop them. And by the way, cut down on the spicy foods and chocolate before bed and sleeping pills. If I ever have to take anything to help me sleep, I will have weird dreams. Just cut down on all of that stuff. Go on natural with sleep, and have good sleep hygiene. Go to bed at the same time every night. Wake up at the same time every day. That will probably help with it a little bit, but you're still going to have these once in a while. It's just the addiction fighting back.
And I concur there. I mean, like I would wake up in a sweat, literally, you know, that, oh my gosh. But I think also creating, like Scott just said, this nighttime routine, because I wouldn't be surprised if you're now going to bed going, oh my gosh, am I going to have them tonight? So if you can create, you know, like, you know, a mindfulness, a meditation, something soothing and calming. I'm not saying it's going to, you know, completely work, but you might find that that gives you some relief, you know, and if they start tapering off, you know, you'll feel like that's some progress too. Now, I have to say, you know, they do, you know, I do think I can't remember the last, you know, one of those I've had, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if I have one tonight, you know, I mean, it's one of those, like they can occur, they're disconcerting. But I do really think
the longer you're sober, the less they occur.
Yeah. But, you know, but I think if there's highly stressed times, or, you know, I think that there are things that, you know, that might potentially, you know, cause one. But they're in your dreams. So that, you know, in your awake, you're choosing. You're here, fantastic. You're working on your recovery. But I would encourage you, you know, do some routine, you know, that is, you know, that helps you. You know, I have recovery apps on my phone. You know, I do those in the morning, but, you know, if I was struggling with sleeping, I would do them in the evening, you know, so
a couple more things about that. Particularly the guys in my porn addiction work group, they have a lot of dreams early on. And the one thing I will tell them is, whatever you do, do not reward the dream. Meaning, when you wake up, don't masturbate. Don't reward it. Do whatever you have to do to not reward the dream. Otherwise, you're going to reinforce it and reinforce your addiction. Because it is your addiction speaking up and fighting. And you just have to say, nope, not going to do it. So that's number one. Number two, talking about sleep hygiene. One of the things about sleep hygiene, I'm big on sleep hygiene because I used to have horrid sleep problems. Leave the technology out of the room. There's no TV in my bedroom. I don't watch TV for like an hour before I decide to go to bed. I do take my phone in with me because my mother is 81 and I have several friends who are in their 80s, and I have gotten calls in the middle of the night where somebody needs to go to the hospital. So my phone goes into the bedroom with me, but I don't use it. I don't check Facebook. I don't text. I don't, you know, none of that. If the phone rings, I know somebody needs something. So yeah, sleep hygiene will help, but there's nothing abnormal.
Okay. The next, maybe some chamomile tea before you go to bed. What are your thoughts on integrity abuse disorder?
I don't know what that is. Do you?
I don't either. I wondered if you did. So integrity abuse disorder. I've never heard of it. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know. Sounds like, I don't know.
It's equating it with bipolar, actually.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's what the question is or not, but
I think that's ask Dr. David when he's back next week.
Yeah,
we're sorry, but that's like that's out of our league. So
way more David's bailiwick than ours.
Yes, yeah. Ask the experts, and we're not it.
Integrity. We're saying we don't know.
Yeah. So somebody said it's from Dr. Minwala. Dr. Rob did a great conversation about that particular person, I would invite you to go watch this webinar. So that's enough said. Okay. Why can't I stop lying? Sober in AA for 17 years, but keep slipping by looking at streaming Beagle, which I consider a middle circle, but I lie by omission when I watch streaming. Some early childhood abuse a few times.
Yeah, you want to go first?
Well, I mean, our clinical director at Seeking Integrity says, tell the truth and tell it faster. So to me, if you have been sober in AA for 17 years, great. But I would say you have not addressed the underlying issues. Now you say childhood abuse and having the reasons, like you could know all the stuff, but that still doesn't change it. So what are the behaviors that you need to do to stop that? And what is the reward you're getting by going to that middle circle? Because I'm also thinking you probably feel, crummy about yourself because you slipped into the middle circle and so what do you need to do? We talk about middle circle and inner circle, but what's in your outer circle? What are the healthy things that you need to be doing? I suspect you need to be doing more of those, so that you're not hanging out in the middle circle. But would you please tell about like the lying? Because you've talked about like even in a meeting. So if you would share that story,
Yeah, I mean, first of all, lies and secrets are the same thing. Dr. Robb in Out of the Doghouse defines infidelity as the keeping of important secrets in an intimate relationship. So his definition of infidelity is actually keeping secrets about your behavior, about important behavior, lying about or keeping secrets about important behavior. So if you're lying about it, you even if it's middle circle, this may be a form of infidelity, or if you're keeping secrets about it. So I do want to point that out. Addicts, we lie and we keep secrets. It's what we do. We're very good at it. Usually we learn very early in life. But we become addicts because we have some childhood trauma, usually related to our parents or something else, but we learn that our caregivers cannot be 100% trusted to meet our needs. One of mine was emotionally absent, physically there, but emotionally absent. The other was very, very, very inconsistent. And often the inconsistency skewed toward crazy. So I learned I could either talk to a brick wall, or I could talk to crazy, or I could just shut the hell up. So I shut the hell up and started self-regulating my own emotions through alcohol, drugs, masturbation. I started with like reading and fantasy games and things like that. When I got a little older, I discovered alcohol, drugs, and masturbation all at about the same time. And that worked a lot better than reading and fantasy games, although I do love to read. So I learned to lie and I learned to keep secrets about everything important. And when I say everything important, I mean everything important. I was so afraid that if you knew what was going on in my head, you would never talk to me again. You would leave me. You would run screaming from the room like your hair was on fire. You could not get away from me fast enough. And this is the message that I got in childhood. Indirectly, nobody said that to me directly. But that was the takeaway for me, was I cannot tell anyone the truth about anything ever. So I stopped telling people the truth about everything all the time. And 30 years later, or 25 years later, when I'm suddenly trying to get sober, and every other sentence is a lie coming out of my mouth. And if you had asked me before I walked into recovery, are you an honest person? I would have said, oh my God, yes, I never tell lies. Because I was completely unaware of how many lies I did tell. And I was really, really unaware of how secretive I was. And like I said, secret's another form of lying. So I get into recovery, and my first 6 months was just trying to get things under control. And then I started working on character defects like lying. And I spent probably another year and a half really exceptionally focused on lies and secrets. And I would be sharing in a 12-step meeting the safest place in the world to tell the truth, mind you, except maybe therapy. And I would hear a lie coming out of my mouth in the middle of my share, and I'd just keep going because that's what I did. You know, that was my habit. And then I would catch it and I would have to back up and say, what I just said 30 seconds ago about this, I'm so sorry, that's a lie. I don't know why I said it. You know, not for any end, usually to make myself look a little bit better than I otherwise might with the truth, but you know, sometimes lying for no reason, keeping secrets for no reason. It was ridiculous, and it was a very hard habit to break because it becomes unconscious. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about, I said I wanted Tami to talk a lot today because I'm not feeling well, but here I am. I want to talk a little bit about denial, because addicts, we engage in denial to keep our addiction alive. And denial starts in here with lies to myself. I have to believe my lies before I can start telling them to you. So not only do I have to become aware of lies when they come out of my mouth, I have to become aware of lies that I have believed often for years in my head, and break those lies. And it's a really, really, really hard habit to break. So Tami, thoughts?
Well, it is a hard habit to break, but it will always keep us distant from other people. So yes, it protects us, but it also keeps us disconnected from people. Yeah. But you know, so lies of omission. So yeah, I'm not telling, but you're aware. You know, it's, like Scott said, often we're lying to ourselves, so we're not aware, but you are. But it will always keep you distant. And I go back to, you know, why are you hanging out, you know, on streaming? What could you be doing with your time differently? You could be in a 12-step, you're here, great. But what are you getting out of, out of the streaming in particular? Because, you know, that seems to be something you keep going back to. So what's happening? I don't think we relapse the moment we relapse. I think there's a trail of crumbs where we're looking and going, oh, that person said something to me, over at a work meeting. And now, like they just don't understand me. So I'm feeling like I need to go self-soothe. I need, I've got a resentment. There's something else going on. I'm not taking care of myself. There's something. So what do I need to do, to intervene on that? So I go back to, what do I need to do that's in my outer circle? Contact my therapist, do this, you start keeping keep a lie journal. Every time I tell a lie, I'm going to keep a journal about that. And then I'm going to figure out what was I looking to accomplish with that lie, and start looking at, kind of the autopsy on every lie. You might get exhausted if you're, struggling with lies. Your journal might get, thick pretty quick, but I bet you'll see a pattern of, like, every time this happens or every time I'm feeling this way, I'm lying about something. I'm going to go do this behavior. And at some point, when we want recovery more than we want to dabble in the middle circle stuff, we're going to do what we need to do the real recovery. Being sober in AA, great, but you're still, I said it earlier, you can't be happy, joyous, and free if you're using other behaviors. You're not really in recovery. You're abstinent from alcohol, but you're still doing the other things that keep you distant from other people, not attached in a healthy and intimate way. And I would invite you in, because it's so much better to live, in that integrity. So I hope you work on the
yeah. And let's take a second and actually talk about streaming services and social media.
Please.
And sex addiction. Okay, I'm 20 years sober from sex and porn addiction. I have every streaming service known to man, and I'm on Facebook, and I think I have an Instagram account that I've never actually looked at. But I tell guys new to recovery, if I was new to recovery, I would not have every streaming service known to man. And I certainly would be on Facebook and no other social media, definitely not Instagram. I'm sorry, guys, get off of Instagram. Particularly if you're a porn addict, Instagram is porn. Just sorry, it's porn. We can call it not porn if you want, but it's porn. Game of Thrones, it's porn with dragons. Okay, don't watch it. You know what you can watch.
A whole bunch of hearts just broke right there. So
I know. You know what you can watch and you know what you can't watch.
But I want to watch it. I want to watch it. I deserve to watch Game of Thrones.
Everybody else can watch. Sorry, if you're a sex addict, you need to turn that off. You need to get off of Instagram. You need to get off of some of the other social media things. If there's content you don't want your grandma to see or your partner to see, get off it and stay off it for a year or two. It'll still be there, when you've got some solid sobriety. But this stuff, it's very, very slippery. And you just, the way to be careful is to just get rid of it.
And do you have the filtering app so that you've got somebody watching what keystrokes you get? I mean, is your sponsor or therapist, getting that report? Because that might give you the 3-second pause to go, oh, do I really want my sponsor to see that I went on that streaming? Because then I'm gonna have to lie to my sponsor and say, well, it was just, I accidentally went to that streaming service, so, but I'm going to also go, when you want recovery, enough, you're going to go, yeah, I don't need to stream. I don't need Game of Thrones. I've not ever seen Game of Thrones, don't care, like dragons and dark. It's not my thing, but like, it's just, I gave up. So using a similar analogy, I had a couple of years ago, extremely painful, sinus surgery twice. The doctors hardly had to do that. I had to have it twice. You know what? I was miserable. They gave me the lightest dose of drugs, because like the doctor knows I'm in recovery, and so like I had enough to sort of take the edge off. And I had to keep reminding myself that I gave up the right for all the good drugs, because I can't handle them. And my recovery is too darn important to me. I'm willing to be miserable, for the time that you're really, really miserable after surgery. So, on some level, I go out to restaurants, I see people drinking, lovely drinks. You know what? I gave up the right for that. And there's nothing in that is worth giving up my peace of mind, my serenity, my integrity, at the bottom of a glass or in a pill or, in a streaming, there's nothing I want to watch on TV. That's just not, or whatever on streaming, it's just not worth it. So that's hollow to me.
Yeah. By the way, I just popped a link into the chat feature about filtering and accountability software, NetNanny,
Thank you.
Dodio, WebWatcher. So if you're looking for one of those products, check out that link.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next question, recently in my relationship, I started to feel and realize that I don't bring my partner any joy or any real signs of joy anymore. And that feeling is quite internally painful that everyone but me can bring her joy in life. I understand that this is part of the process and that I've been in recovery for just under a year. Is it okay to ask my partner, what can I do to, or how to, I can bring you joy?
Yeah. It's absolutely okay to ask that.
Well, or yeah, and here's what I hear is that you're not really communicating. You're seeing a reaction, but if there's pain in the relationship, how can you create new memories that are different? So that you can start, is there an activity that the two of you, my husband and I just started, we were doing dance lessons and we started going back, after a long period of time without, but that was new to us. We'd just been doing that for about 1.5 years before COVID hit. So like that was a new thing for both of us, but it's really meaningful. So there are opportunities. Is there a new activity? Is there some place new you can go that would help you create new memories? And here's the other thing, I really believe this. People can enhance my joy and happiness, but I have to have the joy within. So what I suspect is that your partner is still in grief and that there's pain. And so the betrayal that has been experienced, it takes time. And great that you've been in recovery for a year. Remember that you knew about your addiction the whole time. Your partner has discovery. It's very painful. It's traumatic. And now they're questioning, was anything real? And so their whole world is turned upside down. And then when you start really showing that you're changing, and I say this all the time, everybody, it's actions, not words. It's not lip service. Oh, I'm good now. It's action. So there's a delay though. You have to show that you are committed to this, that you are actually changing. And then they can start, seeing that, so their healing is much delayed from yours. You get into a program and you start getting recovery and you go, wow, this is so good. I'm leaving this shame and guilt and, all these lies and everything else behind. I'm learning to be a different person. Look how much better I am. And then there's your betrayed partner that's going, I feel like the dump truck dumped the garbage on me. So there is a delay. So can you find new meaningful things to do? Yes. But my joy is not contingent on anybody else. It's got to be here, but people can enhance, well, that said, babies always make me smile and bring me joy. So, okay.
I talked about the 7 dimensions of healthy sexuality earlier, and, you get to stage 6 before you actually get to, do anything sexual. I think, sort of relationship intimacy and connection and joy is kind of the same thing. As an addict, I certainly wasn't bringing anybody joy in relationships because I wasn't bringing myself joy.
Yes, that's great.
I had to back up and learn how to take care of myself. I had to learn how to be okay with myself. I had to learn that it was okay for me to have fun. And it's okay for other people to have fun. And oh my goodness, eventually I might be able to have fun with other people. And, it was a step-by-step process. It was I was at least in my 2nd year of recovery before I started really having fun with other people, before I started having fun with other people. And like you, I was often more worried about whether they were having fun than whether I was having fun. And that's backwards.
Yeah.
That's just backwards. And when I first came to recovery, AA meetings, they didn't do this so much in the sexual recovery meetings, but in AA, they would say, our job is to love you until you can love yourself. And, I wanted to flip them the bird because it's just like, go away, you creepy people. But in point of fact, they did love me until I could love myself. And they would take me along to fellowship after a meeting. We'd go to dinner together. And here I am, this unsociable lump, and they're all laughing and having a good time and just waiting for me to get there. And they kept inviting me along. And eventually I got there, and these people are now my best friends. I mean, it was the same batch of guys every Saturday night, dragging me to a bad Chinese buffet, and putting up with me. And I'm so grateful that they did. So they were patient. I would encourage you to be patient, and I would encourage you to start with yourself. Start small. Don't try to give your partner joy. If you've got kids, try and have some joyful experiences with your kids, and then have them with your kids and invite your partner along. And, you're going to have to earn it, I guess. A little bit, but you got to start with yourself and be okay with yourself having some joy. And I'm guessing that's actually the real problem, is you're just not letting yourself experience joy.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question, I was cracking up with the Chinese buffet though too. So
it was terrible. It was so
yeah. And God forbid we go to a different place, because this is the tradition, So that's so recovery.
It went out of business. It was like one of the best days of my recovery.
But it's so funny. It's like I have similar memories. Like we all went to this, even though it was whatever. Anyway, okay. So the next question: do you have any? Oh, I'm sorry, do you know of any structured way for a PA to work towards recovery without a CSAT? Sure. I mean, yeah.
PA.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah.
Go
So,
ahead.
yeah, but well, it's like long before there were qualified therapists to work with, and with AAs, they helped each other. So like, that's what 12 step is all about, is like Scott was just talking about. They help you, you become part of that group, but it takes a lot of work. If for someone who is committed to working the 12 steps, we've done lots of stories on that. Scott co-authored Life Anonymous. That's one version of the 12 steps, but the 12 steps are, how we can learn to live life differently, how we can, do our searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. We share it with somebody, we work on doing amends. There's a whole program of, and it's the most successful way of, finding recovery. So yeah, S groups, the drop-in groups, but just reading a book, just doing, I mean, even with a great CSAT, if all you're doing is 1 50-minute session every week with a CSAT, the most brilliant CSAT, I don't think you're going to get recovery. There's too many hours, especially porn addicts. Like that's 24/7, like somebody shared struggles with dreams, so it's one of those things where if you aren't, I often say, if you are engaging with your recovery with the same energy that you gave your addiction, you are going to do great. So it really takes, there's a bunch of free resources. There's so many resources, but it takes that person, the addict, committing to it, coming up with a plan. It can be on the fridge, it's, what are you willing to do, but if it's sitting on the fence, I often say it's a picket fence, and those pickets are pretty pointy and painful. So, it's active addiction or recovery, get off the fence. So
Vivid.
Well, it is. I use that analogy a lot because I was like, it's painful sitting on the fence. So,
Yeah, we also have online porn work groups, which are helpful. But yeah, 12-step recovery is a structured program in and of itself. Our porn work groups are structured. I still recommend a CSAT.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The
It's way
more
easier.
different things you do for your recovery, the more likely you are to be successful in your recovery.
And the more you're connected with people. Yeah. I mean, like Scott talked about, the lump in the Chinese restaurant, and they kept inviting him along. He learned from other people. Our best thinking gets us into trouble and into program. And, so we absolutely need people. It was such a freedom for me to go to 12-step meetings. I was scared to death, of course, but these people said, there's hope for you. And I was like, really? And they're like, we're going to show you how to do this. And I was like, really? And I believed them, and they were right. Like they showed me how to live life that I could not have imagined. I could not have figured this all out on my own. Wouldn't have wanted to.
And just want to say, it's a lot easier to believe somebody who's sober and smiling than it is to believe somebody who's not sober or not smiling. So, and these are the people that tend to reach out and help. They're sober, they figure it out, they're happy. It's great. The follow-up to that porn addiction question, affordability is an issue right now. And that happens for a lot of people. And that's when we founded Seeking Integrity and Sex and Relationship Healing. We knew that, a lot of people cannot afford to come to inpatient treatment. So we put up all kinds of free stuff. 12-step meetings are free, or you throw $1 in the basket, if you've got it. And, and then we have low-cost stuff as well. But, sometimes people can't even do the low-cost stuff. That's why we have so much free stuff, is we don't want people not getting support and not having a place to connect. It's important to us as a company. It's important to us as people. We're all in recovery for one thing or another. We were all helped by people who gave freely of themselves to us. And, Tami and I don't get paid for this. This is it, but we show up and we do it because we want to give back. It's important.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
And
so
it's a gift for us to be able to do this. It's a gift that we receive being
absolutely. I can be thinking, oh, poor me about something, and then I go, oh my gosh, I am in recovery. I have strung together a few 24 hours. My life is really good. I don't live in lies. I'm a contributing member of society. Like I should have been dead, flat out, I should have been dead. So, or in jail or whatever. So I'm incredibly grateful for the life I have, even in a whiny moment, I am beyond blessed is truly it. So, the next, I wanted to say though, low cost, the work group. There's a men's sex addiction 101 level 1 work group starting tomorrow night. $350, 6 weeks, 90 minutes a session. It's $60 a week. That is low cost. That is cheaper than going to see your CSAT. So, and it's not the same as seeing your CSAT, but man, to get a foundation of information, Scott shared a little bit of what's in level 3. That's just one tiny piece of the components. But working on your 3-circle plan, so that you have it and have it tweaked so that it's actually meaningful. You have the pieces in the right place, and like you might hear somebody else, talk about something and go, oh, that should be in mine. I completely forgot about that. But also I know that some of those guys create peer connection groups. Well, great. Now they've got more support to continue to work on that stuff themselves. So on seekingintegrity.com, you'll see the work groups. There's the sex addiction 101 that starts Thursday, December 2nd. And then there's the porn addiction level 101 level 1 that starts December 7th. And then we will offer them again after the first of the years, but this is an opportunity to get some more support during the holidays. Okay, last question. Partner speaking. I understand Dr. Rob's position on objectification being middle circle and something that the addict should work on with his sponsor to work through and not tell the partner to avoid re-traumatizing her, but not being told is making me, the partner, feel like I'm being lied to, like when he was hiding his addiction. It feels like being told to pretend like things are fine unless he slips to inner circle, when in reality, he's dealing with a middle circle objectification and objectification of me daily. It feels like I'm being asked to live in denial. That's a great question and complex. So what are your thoughts? Because you work directly with the guys about middle circle and things. So.
Right. Actual behaviors you need to tell your partner about. If a thought comes into your head, you share it with your sponsor, your therapist, your fellows in recovery. You don't. Now, that said, that's the difference. That said, it doesn't mean you don't tell your wife you got triggered today, or your partner you got triggered today. You say, when you check in at the end of the day or over dinner, how was your day, honey? Oh God, at the office, I really was triggered. My boss was being a jerk, and then I saw something and it triggered me. Here is what I did about it. That's the key to that statement. You don't give specifics. I was triggered. Here is what I did about it. I called my sponsor. We had a 10-minute conversation. I texted my buddy so-and-so, and then I took a walk around the block and picked up an ice cream, and then I felt better and I got on with my day, and the rest of the day was fine. But boy, I was really triggered in the morning. You can tell your partner that, and they are not going to be traumatized because you're telling them, yes, my addiction is still there. Here is what I'm doing about it. They're actually going to be happy to hear what you did about it. You don't have to say, Susie from accounting walked in and she's got those big gazombas, you've seen her, blah, blah. You don't know. Your sponsor hears about that. Your therapist hears about that. They help you work through that. Your partner does not want to help you work through that. Your partner just wants to know that, yeah, I'm trying. Here's what I'm doing when I get triggered. As a partner, you probably don't want all the gory details. You want disclosure, you want rigorous honesty, you want the truth, you want it faster, but you don't need the gory details. And what you really care about is, did you glance at that waitress? Yes, I'm sorry, I did. I'm looking away. Can we switch seats so she won't be in my line of vision, and I can focus on you? As a betrayed partner, you still might get a little ticked off about that because that's right in front of you. But at least you know that your partner's doing something about it and trying to do something about it and is aware of it and is not lying to you, you're like, yeah, I got triggered. Or yeah, I did look. But yeah, the gory details, not for your partner. The gory details are for your sponsor and your therapist. You work through it there. And betrayed partners, trust me, the addicts do work through that stuff, and work on it and work on not objectifying. It's like lying. It's a habit, and it's not going to be broken overnight. But as long as the addict is working in the direction of breaking that habit, progress will be made, and you will notice progress over time. You may not notice it from today to tomorrow, but you will notice it from today to March, you know. So, Tami, thoughts?
Well, I do. And I would feel like if it was in the vacuum and, oh, I'm fine. I, like you know, for sure, your gut is telling you that's not true.
Nothing happened today. It was perfect.
I'm perfect. I'm so serene. Yeah, no. But I also think I would want to know, like, he's got a call. I'm assuming he's got a call with his sponsor. Like, he's got a regular check-in with his sponsor. I would want to know what his recovery plan is. And Scott's right but I want to do one caveat. So Scott's right that addicts that are working on recovery do get better. There's some, like that posted in the questions earlier, that not really doing anything, that's problematic. But for all of us who are working on a program, working on doing things differently, we can get better. Things do shift. You will see, you will feel, your guts will start settling down. You'll go, yeah, I'm seeing more truth, in all of that. But yeah, being left in the dark of like, it's fine, I just need to talk to my sponsor. No, I need to talk to my sponsor, and I'm going to be fine. We're okay. I'm going to go talk to my sponsor, but
yeah, the answer
acknowledging
should be, I already talked to my sponsor, and
right.
Now I'm going to call someone else. I mean, you should already have done something about it, So,
yeah.
But yeah, and some days, by the way, things do go well, and addicts don't get triggered. So
yes.
Once in a while, if your addict says, you know what, it was a really great day, I didn't get triggered at all, it was awesome, great. Mm-hmm. But if that happens every day, your addict is probably lying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, and somebody says, thank you both for your time tonight and other nights. It's a gift. Oh, you're very welcome. And it is a gift. We're always, grateful for you showing up, asking great questions. We share our experience, strength, and hope. And please know, I have a lot of hope, for the addicts and partners, that are engaged in doing things differently. Lots of people, find recovery. So get off the picket fence if you're straddling it. There's help and hope. So.
And thank you to Tami for
thank you. Yeah, always happy to help. We'll do it again. So bye, everybody.
Right on.